Okay, now on to the Friday questions. What are some words / a phrase you can use to describe the first day? The first
Ooh.
day was playful, it was energetic, there were games, there was one talk, and was teaching songs. So basically just like warming up for just a warm up for Saturday. That's how I can describe it. What about you?
Um, so I think for me it was just kind of like a warming up to people, like getting used to people, figuring out like who you want to be like friends with, who you want to talk to, kind of just like a get to know everyone kind of day. So I'd probably say warming because, warming because you finally are able to meet people who have the same relationship with you, as in like in terms of loving God. And so being able to meet people who know and like love God makes you feel like less lonely, because I feel like a lot of people are actually very afraid to speak up about their religion, or they feel like scared that they're going to be made fun of, which they shouldn't. And I feel like just being able to meet people who finally can like relate to you, as in terms of relationships with God, is just so refreshing. So yeah, I'd say warming and refreshing.
Okay. What was your favorite game? My favorite was Wheels on the Bus, because it's like the only time you can dance and skip, and like, I don't know, it's so funny whenever I go in front of someone and they're like, ah!
I'd probably say Animal Farm, mainly because when you move around, you get to sit next to people and you get to talk to them, and just kind of like befriend them, I guess. Be like, hey, what's up? How are you doing? Whatever.
Mhm.
And I just feel like you get to meet more people just because of just circling around.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Okay. And also with Animal Farm, I had goat, so I had to do this. I was so scared because I didn't have peripheral vision while I was running. So it was just like a bunch of people just like colliding, and it was terrifying because I couldn't see sideways. But I was safe, and I was also really impressed with how no one fell down. Like I didn't see anyone fall down. So yeah, that was Wheels on the Bus was my favorite game. Now, moving on to talks. The first talk was given by Kit Kat, and it was called God's Love and His Plan for Us. We're just going to talk about takeaways from it. I learned that, I remember her saying, God's love is everlasting. Pretty sure that's what it was. And she really emphasized the point that He loves us endlessly, and He has like a personalized plan for us, and He loves all of us as if there was only one of us. And I've never like, I don't know, I've never took that away from that talk. Well, okay, maybe I have, but especially this time, it was a lot more strong, like the things that I took away from that talk. What about you?
So this was my first talk like at camp, and in comparisons to KFL, it was a lot more eye-opening, because for KFL, you're trying to keep it more PG. So most of the talks are about like in both they have activities and stuff, but for kids it's more engaging, engaging wise, because kids don't really grasp the concept of things that quickly, in comparisons to like teens. So I feel like now that I'm older now and I can grasp concepts, I was able to actually understand the talk a little bit more and like relate to the topic more. Sorry, my throat's like weird. I think it was just very eye-opening to see the differences between these kid-friendly talks and these actual mature talks that take a little bit more to understand. However, I feel like I still learned so much just from one talk. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, a thing that I remember, the point that I wanted to highlight on, and it was that whenever Kit Kat said, the reason why the plan may sometimes feel like it's not on our side is because sin, like the sins, it's because of the sins that we commit that ruin like the perfection of our world. And I never thought of it like that. Like people like they always like give sharings about how they thought like God hated them. And even I was even in that place where I was like, okay, I didn't think God hated me, but I was like, why is he testing me so hard? But I really just realized that it was sloth that was like ruining my life, and that was the reason why my plan wasn't going as smoothly as I wanted. So yeah, next thing, the first sharing by Paolo. I can relate to him when it comes to not being able to feel connected to the communion prayer when receiving communion. And monthly meetings for me, they were all right. They were not all right. My favorite thing that you said, Paolo, was those who were present when the world was shutting down was a spreading fire to him. That was like really beautiful, so I had to write that down. And I'm glad that I contributed to that fire because I was always there. And God's plan for him was to keep up being MC. Yeah, good job, Paolo. You, yeah, you're still an MFC. You shared your experience with the sharing. I've never like heard you talk about God, which is okay. It's not sad. It's not sad. It's not sad at all. Oh wait, I have. No, not really. I've never heard you talk about your faith, but I was so happy to hear like a story of yours. And yeah, you definitely do serve others. I think I told you ways that you've served me in my affirmation to you. So yeah, good job. Anything you have to say to that?
Okay, so for this sharing, since I wasn't really involved in like the Zoom meetings and stuff, my interpretation of his sharing was no matter how bad our world seems, no matter how much God tests us, he does it for a reason. He's not testing us just because he thinks that just for fun. He's testing us because he knows our worth he knows our worth in this world. And so he just wants to test us to make sure that we see things the way that he sees. We see the world as God sees the world. We are able to think about our actions before committing sin, and we should be able to like differentiate what's good for us and what's bad for us. And I feel like no matter how hard it will be, no matter how easy, no matter how hard, we're always reminded that God is there and he's guiding us to the right path because it's God's plan. So yeah.
Next sharing, Sasha. So that's Sasha sharing. I thought she was gonna talk about like highlight the fact that she wants to be a nun, but she didn't, which is good. Like, cause I'm actually going through the same thing as her, where I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, and I feel like I need to I have 2 years until it's like time. It's time. Commit to one thing, be one thing, spend money for college to do one thing. Like, that's what I've been feeling. I was glad I relate to her, and that God told her that she was not alone, because that's so beautiful. And I think that's such a good ending. Like, I needed that ending, Sasha. Thank you for that ending. Thank you. Thank you for saying that he'll work in your life until the day you die, because I was like literally like as she was ending the sharing, I was like my ears were so open, and I was like my pen was so ready to just write down whatever the happy ending was and like what my hopeful statement I leave with will be. Do you have anything to say?
Personally, I think that it was so heartwarming to see that how much trust she has in God. Like, it's already really difficult to just have a trust in God in general, considering all the things he tries to test us with. But he's doing it for a reason, which I really think her saying that no matter how hard it is, God will always guide her until the day she dies. I think that was so heartwarming and beautiful to see, because it's not really like common to see that much trust in God. Like, I think it was so like eye-opening, and I feel like it just teaches us as people that no matter no matter what circumstances you're in, no matter how hard something can be for you, God is always going to be there. He's always going to have this plan for you. He's always going to guide you to this right path. So, yeah.
Do you have any funny stories about our discussion group? I have a funny story for our discussion group. It was the first day, so y'all were just sitting down, and y'all were so still. And as soon as I like poured my markers in the middle, I only had 10 markers.
Just ran to the middle.
Yeah, I only had 10 markers, and there's 15 of y'all, and all of y'all went like, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, so quick to try to get a marker, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean for this to happen. The question is, encounter with the Holy Spirit during discussion group. So during discussion group, the first question, I'm pretty sure it was, when did you feel God's love the most? Or when did you feel most loved by God? And the answers were so good. Like, I loved them so much. And I learned so many, like, amazing things about my group. Also, during discussion groups, Lucia and I's answers, we both talked about a moment in Damascus, which is this place in Ohio. We went to a retreat there for a week, and both of our answers of where we felt most loved by God were both in that place. And it was so nice. What was your encounter with the Holy Spirit during discussion group?
Mine, I just felt like more how much God affected so many people. Like, I know that God is like a very important person to all of us, but the fact that it can influence like so many people in different ways and experiences just was so like crazy to me, because I never really realized how much it affected other people. I only thought about how it affected myself. And so to see it from a different perspective was just really refreshing to see, especially on how like a lot of younger kids, despite like that 2-year like pandemic where like I feel like most people felt so isolated, a lot of people found God as like their escape. And I feel like that's so like heartwarming to feel, because it just proves that he's just amazing, and like it just proves that he's always like there no matter how hard, and he's always going to influence you in some way. So I feel like that's what I mainly encountered at discussion groups.
And the last question for Friday is an unfortunate thing about the first day. I have 2 things. The first thing was that I didn't get to dress up as Adam Silver and play the keys. I brought my blazer, I brought a white dress shirt, and I brought a tie. And I didn't get to do that because Caleb said that they were like behind on schedule. And I was like, y'all had 5 hours after 3 o'clock to like get everything ready. And I was like, that was so bad. I wanted to introduce like the GGLs. So yeah, I just, those dress clothes just took up space in my bag.
Aww.
And the second thing was that I wasn't able to pray the rosary with Queenie because after discussion groups is over, like the participants go back in their cabins and they go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I just stay in the chapel because service team was gonna have a meeting. So I asked Caleb, oh, can I go pray with Queenie? And then he said like there's a meeting. And then after the meeting, like the participants were asleep. So our schedules were so different. And I couldn't even like do Bible study with her on the next day because I know that y'all stay up and like write affirmations, so I was like, okay, I'll just do Bible study with her during that time. But yeah, we still didn't get to do that. But we did do it recently, so I'm glad we still got to do it, even though it wasn't at camp. Do you have any unfortunate things about your first day?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.